were also brought in, and then they were given the license. In 2002, actually, in 2002, Obasanjo government again gave the whole, the OPL 245, the entire block, awarded it to Shell, a loan, and then received a signature bonus of about $210 million from Shell. Of course, Malabu was not comfortable with this. That is Mr. Etete himself was not comfortable with that deal. So he decided to challenge it, and he went to court, all over, started fighting it. So in 2006, he was under Obasanjo's tenure. He was able to get the court to ask him, Malabu, and the federal government to reach a deal, which they did. They were supposed to have a mutual agreement to settle the matter out of court and all that. So they did that in 2006. But Obasanjo did not see the agreement through at the time. He just punted on it until the 2009-10, when President Jonathan was in charge of the government. So Etete tried to approach the government at the time. He did approach the government at the time and said, look, this deal, the government has said we should settle out of court. He approached the arbitration court, and then, of course, also got something, a favorable judgment at the time, to fairness. Now, when he approached Jonathan decided to take a look at that deal. And when he looked at it, he said, okay, this is something that we could settle, that is Jonathan's government, with Etete. So Etete wanted to sell out the whole block. So wanted to sell to Shell and Ajib. So Shell and Ajib knew that Etete had been convicted, around 3 years earlier in 2007 in France, for money laundering. So they didn't want to deal with him because they knew that, because they had a smart top intelligence experts who had looked into the background of Etete and the entire deal for due diligence for Shell and Ajib. So they said that you cannot transact with a convicted money launderer. So that was why Shell stayed back, and then said the Nigerian government decided to play the middleman, sort of, using the name of Nigeria. So the government decided to, Jonathan's administration, with Bello Adoke as the Attorney General, decided to deal with Shell and Ajib separately, and then Dan Etete, Malabu on the other end. So the government was just in the middle. So they struck the entire deal in 2011, and then paid. So the Shell paid about 1.3 billion or thereabout to the Nigerian government. Of course, the Nigerian government again took 210 million thereabout for signature bonus, and the remaining 1.1 billion thereabout, 1.092 billion thereabout, was transferred to a JP Morgan account owned by Mr. Etete and Malabu in London. So that was in 2011. So of course, the transaction was highly suspicious. So from London, when the money got to London, immediately 800 plus of the money was transferred to Mr. Etete's account, another account in Switzerland. So the money remained about 195 million was left out of the money in London. That was immediately frozen there was a request based on the mutual legal assistance that was signed between Italy and UK. So because Ajib, which transferred the fund, is an Italian firm. So the Italian authorities requested that the remaining 195 million be frozen. So the money was frozen, and then it has been hanging in the UK account since then. The money was actually 185 million for Mr. Etete, and another 110 million thereabout for another Nigerian who also said he contributed to facilitating the deal, Emeka Obi or thereabout. So Mr. Obi is now the one trying to claim the 110 million. another 85 million that was hanging, that had been hanging. So the UK authorities had just given Nigeria that 85 million that Mr. Etete wanted to claim, because Mr. Etete had argued in court that he owned the money, but the UK court said, based on what we have from Italian authorities, this money, this transaction is suspicious, so we are not going to release the fund to you. So they expected the Nigerian government to show interest, just show interest that, okay, we want to claim this money. And that was what the Nigerian government did. So, and they have the money now. Okay. So the Nigerian government did not actually put much effort into this at all. It was just the efforts of the Italian prosecutors, led by Fabio Pasquale, that paid off.
Okay. Mr. Malaki, or Mr. Gumadu?
All of them.
All of them. Now, I mean, Mr. Gudube has given us like a lowdown of the entire sequence of events that led to this. How is it that the Nigerian side seems to just sit down and wait? Okay, when they finish, we just go to collect. I mean, first of all, 25 billion was paid as signature bonus, then 100 and something. And then an individual gets up and claims that it is my own. And the Nigerian government that's supposed to own this
money,
this parcel of land that has its oil well, says, give it to him. How does that work?
Well, first is to thank my colleague over there, Mr. Gundube. That was a very comprehensive trajectory of this mess that continuously offends the sensibility of an average Nigerian in a country in which salaries are not being paid, the cost of living has gone above the roof, and unemployment is still as high as 60, 65, thereabout percent. Now, but we need to try to understand that this singular experience, in addition to so many others, have combined to expose the lukewarm attitude of this government in dealing with the issue of corruption and even recovery, particularly seizing the moment as regards established case. And that is precisely one of the concerns that some of us have, namely that the Buhari administration has not dramatized or displayed the kind of aggression, have not mobilized the resentment of even the world, because it's a global scam. You've heard about Nigeria, you have about Spain, you have about Italy, you have about Britain.
UK.
In short, read the judgment, I mean the ruling of the presiding judge in the UK court. You would see that he was literally doing a serious campaign for the people of Nigeria, insisting that the transparency required or expected to be evident in this case does not exist, and that the people of Nigeria will continually be shortchanged, hence the withholder. And like you have just, quite frankly presented, it just happened that we eventually got the pittance that was left. It would have been the other way around. And this is applicable to so many other recoveries that are expected to happen. Now, how does that play out? It becomes painful when you juxtapose that with the borrowing spirit going on in the country, from the Ministry of Finance to the federal government itself, on daily basis. And there are quick justifications for those borrowing. When indeed,
we have money lying around.
About just what you have outside there, with a more coordinated plan of action, with an effective expertise drawn not just from Nigeria, but go anywhere and get international experts who could assist to recover this money, would have saved us this mortgage of our future. Because that is precisely what is happening with the kind of borrowing we're going on.
Songwriters will take a moment and we'll come back to continue the conversation. Please don't go away.